It's a comedy of errors because everything. So yesterday, Bradley, good morning, everybody. We'll get to the morning news in a second. Yesterday, I was having internet troubles before we got on the air with Dan O'Halloran. This morning, we have the great Bradley Kelly. And Brad, who is far more familiar with the lock of my door than anybody should be, comes down to ask me a question. My door, visually, I'm looking over at it now, is unlocked, and it wasn't working. So if I get locked out of my office today, I think it's just a sign from God. Go home, go lay in traffic, do something else with your life. We're here. It is May 31st, puts us 90 days out from August 29th. The schedule for today, of course, is contracts all morning long. And we've got Maine at 10 o'clock and New Hampshire at 11. There is no 9 o'clock listed. I don't know if that's a thing or if we are doing Massachusetts or Vermont. I think it's Massachusetts. Well, it was Vermont last week, I believe. I believe it's Mass this week. Maybe it's not. Maybe Alice is away. I have no idea. We'll find out at 9 o'clock. Keller TV for all of your contractual needs at every Wednesday morning. So please join us for that. That is remarkably important. Also, there's a note at the top of the news, and the scam calls are prevalent across all industries right now. There was something on the news last night about how Eversource is apparently calling people throughout the state of New Hampshire saying that they're behind. Eversource will probably not give you a courtesy call. They're probably just going to flick the switch. And I love it. The guy they were talking to, Brad, you'll enjoy this. You remember your grandmother would never call it the electricity bill. It was the light bill. So he talked about the fact that he got a phone call from Eversource and they were going to shut his lights off. And I said, yes, one for the old people. So that being said, at the top of the morning news, there is a note about the Office of Professional Licensing, and they are not going to call you to say there's a complaint. That's not going to happen. You're going to get first-class mail with a copy of the complaint. All the notes are at the top. If you have any questions about this, please reach out to our managing brokers, both Jennifer Vachon or Jason Westcott, so they can talk to you about that. If you're getting a call, it is not valid. You will get something in the mail. And our office might know about it at the same time you know about it as well, because obviously we're going to get contacted to be part of that conversation if there is a complaint. So all that aside, there is a note at the top of the news about that. Those are not valid phone calls coming in. And while we're discussing this, Brad, if you ever get a text from Brad or I'm not cool enough to be on this list, Brad Kelly, Jennifer Vachon has been here, Nathan Dickey's been...
I don't think I was ever on the list.
You're not cool enough. Okay, so you might occasionally get a text from... I know this much. Joffrey D'Angelo, Nathan W. Dickey, or Jennifer Vachon recently, they're never going to send you a text that says, hey, Brad, are you free? Can you go get me $4,000 worth of Apple cards or Best Buy cards? That's never going to happen. If Nate needs you to buy a gift for one of his friends, we're probably going to be closed the next day. It's never going to happen. So just know that's also a prank. You should never reply to those people. Don't click on that email. Nate can buy his own Best Buy cards. There, we got through that. This afternoon with the great Melissa Burke here in Portsmouth at 12 o'clock, DocuSign to Zip Forms with Melissa. That is in Portsmouth. Anytime we do something technical, it's always in person, so she can help you click the buttons. And then at 1 o'clock, creating campaigns in command, also here in Portsmouth, 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock with Melissa. So we came to a crashing halt with Meg Agent May, and we're wrapping up with Bradley Kelly. Because you really are one of the people that's been here the longest. I want you to talk about the fact, I think a lot of people, if somebody just joined us in the last couple of years, or anyone who might be new to the ecosystem, oh, Brad, he's our in-house lender. They seem to talk about him a lot. There's a reason for that. There's a remarkable amount of trust that we have in you. The brand that is lucky enough to be partnered with you, Movement Mortgage, is phenomenal. I think you've found your home. Yes?
For now, yeah.
Arguably,
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, the relationship, the lending relationship we have in the office goes along with that trust factor that you're talking about. And it really comes down to what is best for the agents in this office and the clients that they represent. We want to have, that, full service situation where we're providing all the products, the rates, the programs, the marketing, all the pieces of the puzzle that we need to help all the agents here be more successful. And obviously, we want to partner with them because that's what's going to make, the relationship more money and ultimately result in more money, coming back to that, to the office here to help with different things, and profit sharing being a big part of that.
Huge part of that. So if I'm seeing your office for the first time, I'm wondering as an agent, is he the lazy neighbor that doesn't take it on his Christmas lights, or is he like a college student with the LED light? What is going on behind you? I love the logo, by the way. I love what you've done with the place, but I just noticed the lights. So we're just not taking those down. We're waiting for November.
Yeah, I think we're just going to leave them. There's been instances around here of people falling. Like it does happen in my office occasionally. So at this point in time, I don't know that anybody needs to be climbing on top of anything. But yeah, no, they're for entertainment purposes.
If anybody's climbing through a ceiling today, it may be to unlock my door, because that's apparently that's on the menu today.
We might have done that once. Yeah, no, we might have done that once.
So for people that don't know, because we've been doing this with everyone we've talked to this month, and we're probably a couple of years ago. Remember we did the Natethology, and we talked to everybody who's known Nate for far too long, and sort of talked about. So give us a teaser on that. Talk about your relationship with Nate, how long it's been, because I don't think a lot of people realize that you guys have known each other since like 1932.
Yeah, no, it was. I believe it was the late '90s that we met. So yes. It's been a while.
Spin Doctor was cranking in the background. Yes.
Yes. Yep. A little bit of Spin Doctor.
God help us.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, just to kind of give you a little bit of my philosophy on college, which hopefully my kids aren't listening while I'm getting ready to go out to college. Like
you too can get your bachelor's degree in 8 years.
I was really good at intramural sports at college, and I was also there. And I'll tell you, like, I've found a career at this point in time, but I don't know, I'm always joking around with my kids that one of these days I'm going to grow up and figure out what I want to do in my life.
Sure.
When you're not somebody like my wife, who's a teacher, who was like born wanting to be a teacher, went to high school, wanted to be a teacher, went to college, wanted to be a teacher, got her master's degree, wanted to be a teacher. When you're like, oh, okay, what do I want to do with my life? You start to try to figure out, the things that are around you, that are opportunities. Mm-hmm. And along with that goes relationships, and that was the big thing for me that college taught me is relationships, how to deal with people, how to be in stressful situations, and be able to come together and make things happen. And Nate was one of those people I met there that I was like, okay, this guy's got that, for the lack of a better word, that it factor, that charisma. Like first time I got like in a car with him, I think he was working at a car dealership at the time. And,
I was going to say, were you guys in the back of the car with their lights on top? No,
not that. No, he got in this pickup truck with him, and I pretty sure like within
probably
a week,
a Ford.
I bought that truck like within a week. It was, it was that's how Nate operated. Like he was like, "Oh, look at this bridge. Would you like to buy this bridge?" And it was like, "Okay." And I'll tell you, like I was your classic like I hate salesmen. Don't try to sell me everything. But you watch somebody like him, and we have a lot of examples of that here, of people that go out into their world with purpose and have conversations with people, and eventually those conversations lead to opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that's huge. Having those people around you, having, those, for lack of a better word, dreamers, that are basically always looking for a positive way to interact with the people around them and the people they care about, and bring opportunity to them.
Yep. Yeah, I think, again, a lot of people can get into our ecosystem in the last couple of years if you're new to KWCLM, and if you meet Nate, and there's a lot of this. We talk about it in bold. It used to be be, do, have. Now it's be, do, achieve, because if you have something, it can be taken away. If you achieve something, it's yours for life. So with the be, do, have, or the be, do, achieve mindset, I think a lot of people see people that are successful. We always hear about the overnight success, which if you've been part of this story long enough, you know that there's been a complete and total grind on behalf of our fearless leader to get to where we are. The running joke, and I say it all the time, I feed into it, is his old desk when we first moved here. I think it actually came over from 501 Islington Street with that huge credenza with the cabinets, which is actually Melissa Burke's desk now in the Meredith office. Yeah. It moved to our productivity office in Meredith. I used to joke that like, oh yeah, that credenza is full of just comic books and animal crackers, like he doesn't really, and there was a lot of grind. He'll always talk about the fact that as good as he was at building relationships, he was really bad at tracking them.
Yeah.
Like that's his biggest regret. He'll always say that, super transparent about the fact. So when I joke about if you're currently doing real estate and your F-150 is full of cocktail napkins and 3M notes with phone numbers on it, let's get those into a system. And I'm making fun of him on purpose because he would admit that's how he ran his business. He has a phenomenal database now, and we can blame that on Kate Logan and Susanna Shaw, of course. But up until then, it was they called it Gary in a box. Gary had his whole world in a shoebox, right?
Yep.
So for you, because I think people think you just sit there and you're collecting these deals. The same way our civilian friends think our agents come into this building and there's soft serve ice cream and money shooting out of the walls. Like there's hard work involved. So you talked about the fact that you think you're currently doing what you want to do, but again, maybe you'll grow up and figure out what you want to do. And as much as you detested sales or that perception of it while you were at UNH, was there a feeling for you that you knew that you also had the it factor? Because I think when Bradley J. Kelly walks into a room, everyone knows he's in the room. So did that come over time? Well, you're a loudmouth. We love you. But did that come over time, or is that just something that you like? I find it fascinating that you say that you didn't like that because, and I'm not saying you're salesy, but as we all should be in this business, you need to be the straw in the drink. You need to be the attractor.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, and it's funny, I've talked about this before with the, what is it? The Future of Real Estate Group.
Yep.
We're talking about sphere of influence. Like when I first started, I was like, nope, I'm not calling my friends. I'm not calling my family.
Yep.
Like I know a better way.
Give me the Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross leads. Yes. Yeah. The good leads.
Exactly. And it was one of the, it was a mindset flip for me that basically changed that. When you go into selling something to people, you need to believe in it. You need to believe that you're bringing value to people.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, like that's ultimately where I've got, and that's where my mindset is in life. Is I'm trying to every day. I'm coming in here. And I'll tell you, we were on a leadership call with a movement yesterday, and they were talking about like right now is there was people that have been in the business for longer than me, and I've been in it for a while, that 30 plus years in the business, that are basically like this is the toughest time there's ever been in the mortgage world. I mean, with the uncertainty and the rates and the and everything we're dealing with, and they played I'm sure the video, and I don't know off the top of my head, they played a video during it where there was a guy that was talking about I crashed my car, and the guy was like, good. And like it was like over and over again, it was like, oh, I'm having a really bad day. Good. Because through adversity, you grow. Ultimately, there's opportunity now that when things were insane, there wasn't. That you have the ability to take on market share and be a better version of yourself in this world right now that you didn't have before. And you have to come into it with a mindset. Like I said, I when I first started here, I didn't have that mindset. I mean, and I'll tell you, it was back on Islington Street. There was, I think, maybe 9 of us here. And it was like, hey, I'm going to start a mortgage company, bring it in, and I came in and ended up running that. And it's taken work. It's been a grind, like you said. It's been a process to get to where we are, where we have a strong team. We've got, Diane up in Wolfboro. We got Brian in York and covering the main offices, and and Kelly and Ben here. It's been a process. Like there was a lot of hiccups along the way where it was like, the mortgage industry didn't build teams. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing. It was like, okay, you're doing as much business as you can do. Okay, we'll bring in another loan officer, and now we're going to compete for the same business with the same agents in the same office. And then it just didn't work. And I kept saying to them, hey, I'm in an office with a Keller Williams model where there's teams being built and this style of approach of business that we can model, we can follow that, and that's been like a goal of mine since we started basically.
Yep.
So that's where we've grown to. I mean, but it is hard work. You got to come in, you got to learn what's going on. You got to. I mean, right now, it is insane how many products we're bringing on. The products that we have, the opportunities we have, it's every day it's learning. You come in. When we were going through COVID, it was FHA, VA, conventional. That was it. Because basically all the other stuff went away. Yeah. Now it's like, you rates are a little bit higher. There's opportunity for people that have money to invest in the real estate world, and they're doing it in different ways. And one of the ways is products. There's a lot of opportunity out there as far as products are concerned.
I'm glad you brought up your team, because just to take a moment to edify them, if people don't know, they just see a different face. And probably to my discredit, I always talk about Brad Kelly and Movement Mortgage and reference your team, but probably don't put them, like, making sure people understand that you guys all work together. And, there is Brian, there is Diane, and you also have Ben and Kelly locally. Kelly, by the way, which keeps all of you in line, right, in the grand scheme of things. No, you're very good at what you do, Bradley. There, I said it. You owe me a crisp $30 bill. But much like Nathan Dickey, we can blame the law and order on Kelly, because she's keeping a lot of things in line. Yes.
No, she's awesome at what she does, and that's the thing, is when you have that group of people that are all pulling in the right direction, and you have a process, that's the key. And I feel like the group in general has a very strong process. I mean, there's times when we're reaching out to each other with questions or talk through scenarios and things of that nature. I mean, every deal out there right now is that much more important to everybody involved. Whether it's the buyer that's been spending 2 years trying to find a house and finally gets under agreement. Yep. Whether it's the agents that have been working their butt off to get those deals put together and showing property after property after property, or us here at the mortgage team. Like, you got to have all the pieces of the puzzle. And our title partners do a great job too. And the key here is we all work together to basically accomplish great things, and that's the key.
When we just wrapped up Ignite for Q2, and as we got to, there's like different pillars going out through the 20 classes, and we got to the transactional portion, and I browbeat the kids in the class to make them remember, whomever, shameless plug, Brad Kelly and his team at Movement Mortgage, whomever your local lender is, making sure that you're having that conversation and checking with them on dates, and the importance of, and you just mentioned it, the product the consumer is using. Because the pushback a lot of people are going to get is, well, we'll check with a lender once we find something we're looking for. That she died in the fire. That was never a good idea. It's never been a worse idea than right now.
Right.
And then above and beyond that, my the way I would handle that objection when it came up, well, Mr. Lindsay, I appreciate that, because their feeling is that we are credit checking them to see if they're worth our time financially, which I don't think anybody on planet America right now has a chance or a choice to decide, that person's not spending enough money. We want at-bats. I want our agents to have at-bats, because there's growth in that. So I would always answer that with, Mr. Lindsay, I appreciate that. Use, feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. We've had a lot of clients that have felt the same way. What we found, it's not my concern about what you're going to be approved for. It's finding out that you're approved, and above and beyond that, the product you'll be using, because that's going to guide our search. Right. So can you talk about that and the importance of our agents bringing you guys into that conversation as soon as possible for date guidelines and just assistance with the difficult conversations that shouldn't be on our plate because we're not lenders?
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. For example, it just happened yesterday. So, agent in the office here that I do quite a bit of business with wrote a deal, sent it in, and I got a call that yesterday afternoon from the listing agent, which we typically connect with regardless. But she was right on it. Called me right away. She's like, so I see that the contract date says June 29th on it. Are you able to turn that around that quickly? And I was like, oh yeah, definitely. We're definitely closing them 30 days or less, depending on the scenario and things of that nature. That's not a problem right now. And she was like, okay, great. And we talked through, the strengths of the buyers and things of that nature, which just, puts you in a stronger position. But, having that, you can write a contract that says 2 weeks, that you're going to do financing 2 weeks. Like, maybe you are, but like you're not fooling anybody that it's a long shot. You want to obviously put as strong of an offer out there as you can, but also you want to be reasonable with those offers.
Yep.
That they're going to turn around in a reasonable amount of time, because it's not. Unfortunately, as much as we want all our clients to be like, oh yeah, you want all the paperwork, it's not always like that. It's a process for a reason. So yeah, I mean, and that falls back to Kelly and how strong she is at working through our clients with the contract to close part of it and things of that nature. You just got to have the right pieces of the puzzle. You got to be moving in the right direction. Like I said, the big thing right now with rates being up is being competitive in the rate market and having the products. If you've got and that was the big reason we went to movement is, we can do land loans, we can do construction loans, we can do, all the bond programs. Movement just actually released their own bond program of sorts called Movement Boost, where we can do down payment assistance directly through Movement, home equity lines, whatever it may be. Just having all the cards is important right now. And that's what that opportunity brought to us.
I love that you brought up about the 2 week and somebody putting that on paper just to strengthen their offer, and that might not be your best practice. Agents always say, and this happened a lot during COVID, well, Timmy, it's really tough to manage expectations. Yes, it's always going to be difficult to manage expectations if we don't set them in the first place.
Right.
So bringing in your lender, Brad and his team coming in and helping you set those expectations and have the honest conversations. Like that's a whole set of conversations that, like, I'm happy to say, I used to always look at my watch and be like, great question. You know what? We just rolled the month. Some rules may have changed. Let's check with Brad. Or great question. Let's check with Jenny and her team over at 4 Points. Like, let's always check in with our expert. We need to be the source of the source, never the source.
I mean, there's plenty of times where I'll get calls and I'll be like, XYZ lender, they're really screwing up this deal. Like, we're supposed to close in 5 days. Like, how quick do you think you can close this? Like, if I really wanted to be like that salesy guy, I'd be like, oh yeah, we'll close it in 5 days, which there's no way in hell, there's no way in hell we're going to close it in 5 days, so it's usually a conversation around, okay, best case scenario, you're probably 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the appraisal situation and things of that nature, so it depends on how you want to set yourself up. If you want to set yourself up for success or failure, it really comes down to your communication, like you said, and who you're talking to that's involved with the transaction.
You mentioned like 30 days right now. My guess is that some of that is your excellence, and the other piece of that might be the velocity of the market right now. Yes, because we're not jammed up with deals. I've always, like we just did at the top of this call, August 29th is our 90 days out, and I've always prepped our agents. If you're getting to a kitchen table in the next couple of days, we're looking at the end of August right now, because we want to bake in for our sellers, the 2 weeks to get it prepped, 2 weeks ish to get it prepped, probably faster than that. And then time on market, and then the average consumer coming in with that 45-day window, which you just said is 30. And during COVID, all the kids are telling us, well, Timmy, I think you're at 60 days now. I don't know about the 90 days anymore. But, she didn't die in the fire. That is just a universal truth. And that's part of managing expectations, because if we get to surprise and delight them and everything moves up and everyone can move up, because right now we have a lot of suitable housing clauses and home sale contingencies. It's not your lender has a cape on. It's what else is involved that's going to make everybody a win-win.
Well, and there's pieces of the puzzle that we don't have control over. Obviously we're going to order the appraisal right away and get that moving and do all the things that go along with that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be seamless. That piece of the puzzle isn't going to have its challenges and things like that. That was the big thing that used to hold us back, was the appraisal piece. So you don't have the refi boom that was going on right now. So the appraisals aren't really holding us back as much, but still, like, you're 2 weeks for an appraisal realistically. Like, by the time the appraiser gets the order, schedules it, goes out there, does the report. I mean, much shorter than that is hard, like maybe a week and a half, best case scenario and something like that. But it's, you're putting everybody under the gun the shorter you make those time windows, So you want to be competitive, but you also want to be realistic, because a good listing agent's going to know when you're bullshitting them. Yeah.
Well, and for the agents that are struggling with the conversation, they've got the seller, and I think what's superseded this now is most sellers are saying, well, okay, but where am I going? Because they don't see what they're looking for currently on the market, when it's our job to go bring that stuff to the market. So the other side of that is, I'm waiting for rates to drop. And the rates are exponentially high. And what do we know? We know that these are the rates. This is who she is now. These are the numbers that we're in. Could they move again? Sure. And the probability of them ticking up a little bit before they tick down is probably more accurate.
They just did that over the last couple of weeks here. That,
Yeah.
that ceiling
Yeah.
stuff was great for rates. And this is the battle I think all of us are dealing with is the media. So
Yes.
it's funny. I'll have people pop their heads in and be like, "Oh, I heard rates are going down," and I was like, "Yeah, that was last week. This week they're going back up." It's hard to keep up with the media and what the clients are getting for information. But yeah, they're in the sevens at this point, or right around 7 somewhere, where they were in the low 6s a couple of weeks ago, and the debt ceiling talk really, drove them back up. But I mean, 6, 7, 5, whatever that number, like our parents would have given their firstborn for that back in the day. And the idea that 3% is sustainable is crazy. And I talk about this all the time. That's not a real thing. That was, I literally tell clients all the time that would talk about, hey, do you think I should wait to lock the rate to see if they'll get better? And I tell them, well, here's what is good for mortgage rates. All the bad things in the world, natural disasters, war, recessions, jobless claims, pandemics. Okay. Those are the things that drive mortgage rates down. So if you want to sit around and hope for those things to happen, we can do that, or we can just get you locked in, make sure you're protected. And then, if a window of opportunity comes along where rates do go down, we have a program going right now where we're waiving our lender fees to refinance you between now and the end of 2024. So there's going to be opportunity for that. The key is let's get you in the house and let's not get carried away with, an eighth or a quarter in rate, because it's more important to get you in the house right now and get the deal and then figure out the rest of the pieces later.
Yeah, I love that you talked about the rate lock. So I'm an agent at KWCLM. One of my clients locks in with you in the next handful of days. How soon, if the unicorn flies by, how soon could they refi? If some sort of a magic trick comes out of left field.
Payments. Yeah, you want to make 6 payments is roughly so what you're looking at, and then it becomes an equity question, because ultimately there's going to be some costs that go along with it.
Sure,
we're gonna defer some of those by moving the escrow account over because we service our loans and by waiving our lender fees, but there's still going to be some costs that go along with it. So you're probably 6 months to a year is probably as early as you want to do it, but realistically that's probably what we're looking at anyways. That long out before it makes a lot of sense, unless you're unique, like a unicorn scenario where maybe you had to take a higher rate product because of something, different, like maybe a job situation or something like that, where you had to take a unique product and now your job situation stabilized and you can do something better,
Yeah, I mean, and if somebody locks in right now, again, based on all the math and everything that we're seeing, stands to reason they might owe you a drink in a year. Because you helped them make a great decision. And again, the other side of that coin is if the rates go back to the magical 2.9, she's dead. She's not coming back. Then they can refi, to your point, which might assume some cost, but the long-term savings, if they're able to do that, would also be worth it. And that's another thing I want you to talk about real quick before we jump. Trying to convince people, or not convince, help people understand. We don't convince our sellers. We help them understand the market. When somebody's pushing back and saying, yeah, Brad, I completely understand. And I talked to Tim and we're thinking about it. But for us to go out of a 2.9 into a 5.8, let's say, that doesn't make any sense. And my contention would be, yeah, but Mr. Lindsay, you beat the daylights out of your principal in that 2.9. You actually have more equity than most,
And that's the key, we just recently had a market update from Barry Habib, who's like one of the biggest market gurus out there. And that was the big thing he talked about was there's a lot of people, and I'm going to tell you, I feel it. My rates are low because I took advantage of that. But you have a lot of the wealth that we've developed, those of us that own real estate, is tied up in that real estate.
Yeah.
And, if I'm at, like you said, 2.99, 2%, whatever that number is, it's almost like you're kind of handcuffed at some levels because you're like, oh, I've got all this equity, but like, how do I access that? And I don't want to do anything with this first mortgage. Well, you can go get an equity line. You can take out a HELOC, you can start spending that money at, don't know, somewhere in the 8% ballpark right now, and then it becomes a question of, okay, wait a second, at what point in time does it really make sense to refinance or leverage that 3% rate and maybe end up somewhere in the fives if the rates get there? Because if I'm taking out a HELOC at 8 and I've got a first at 3, like what's the middle ground? You really need to be in a position where our country, the reason our world's real estate and mortgages did so well during COVID when it was tough times. I mean, I used to look at my kids all the time and be like, we're lucky. It was tough times for a lot of families out there, was because we were in a market where the values were going up on homes and there was equity out there, and people were able to, leverage that through refinancing, or they were able to leverage that through selling a home and diversifying their, what they're doing, or selling, some of their real estate investments. And right now there's almost like a gridlock going on. It's a little frustrating, and having that conversation with a seller and being like, look, I know it sounds great that you're at 2.5% right now in this house that you don't want to live in because it doesn't fit your family, it doesn't answer your needs. It's great that you're at 2.5% there, but that's not reality. Like you got your time out of that rate. You definitely built some equity because of it. At this point, we need to talk about other options for you, because it's because I've been talking to people that are like, oh, I don't want to lose that 2% rate, but this house isn't big enough, so I'm going to do an addition. And it's like, okay, you're going to borrow that money at 8, or higher. So we can do that, but at the end of the day, like when push comes to shove, if you can put it all together at 5 or 5.5, you're probably better off, even though that 3 is now gone, that magical 3 you had is gone. It doesn't change the idea that you still got to be able to leverage that, that equity that you've built.
Yeah. The Brad Kelly from Movement Mortgage. If I need to get a hold of you, because I've seen you for everything that you do really well. You're so humble when you get up, because you serve almost every meal in this building at every meeting we have. So when I've seen you in passing, I've seen you in the wild, but I haven't yet sat down and talked to you about how we can work together as agent and lender. How do I get a hold of you?
So my cell's 603-396-3198. My office door is almost always open when I'm here, if I'm on the road, whatever. I will
it's
tell you,
when you're not there too. I pop in quite a bit, and Benjamin's just like, he's gone. He left. He's already gone.
Yeah.
He's off making the magic happen.
I don't, it's funny. You talk about this, like making the magic happen and like being this loud person and whatnot. So just so all you know, like, I don't think that I'm that important. I really don't. So like, if you see me and you want to ask me a question, please ask, okay? Because like it may be more of a like, you're kind of looking at me like, oh, is he too busy? And I'm like, why are they looking at me with the side eye? Like, did I do something wrong? Like,
because your zipper's down. Keep going though.
Yeah. Pop your head in, say hi, ask questions. Like, we've got crazy resources. Like, Movement is very, very strong in the marketing and the resources that we have. We'd love to work with every one of you. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not connecting with all of you enough, so if you've got a minute and you want to pop in and say hi and see what we've got going on, or talk about what you've got going on or whatever, like we'd love to help. Like, I help people all day long with things that don't even involve transactions for us, because ultimately that's building relationships and that's going to lead to business, so please say hi anytime.
If the earbuds are in, he's on a call. If he's on his phone, he's on Candy Crush, just so you guys know. So if he's just looking down and he looks really busy, he's not texting back a client. He's on level 9 million of Candy Crush. God help us. Bradley Kelly, thank you so much again for yourself, Brian, Diane, Ben, and Kelly. If you need something from Movement Mortgage, please reach out, have that conversation. The great Brad Kelly, again, 603-396-3198. Thanks, bud. We'll see you soon.
Hey, I want to put a quick shout out to you, Timmy. I just noticed this. I just got my ticket. It looks like you're doing Quantum Leap coming up here, bud. Yeah, that sounds exciting.
June 13th. Yeah, I feel like I've already asked the services of lunch from you and your team for that.
Yeah, no. So those of you that haven't signed up yet, sign up. Like, Quantum Leap is awesome.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to get to see it. When Gary did it down, I think it was in Dallas that we
Yes.
saw it.
Yep.
Gary did it at like 6:30 in the morning.
Of course he did.
But
Yes.
yeah, or something of that nature. But yeah, great content, great class, and if any of you haven't been yelled at by Timmy lately, like he'll definitely yell at you during this class. It'll be great.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Gary's love letter to real estate. That's how I will put a bow on Quantum Leap. So if you're wondering what it is, stop wondering. Just register. Join us Tuesday, the 13th of June for that. And then Thursday, June 29th, we're doing Business Planning Clinic halftime. So halfway through the year before we go on the holiday break, we might have cake and strippers because it's JV's birthday, Thursday, June 29th. Well, you never know. I don't know. I don't know if that's in the Movement Mortgage budget. I have no idea. All right, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right, see you. Thanks, Timmy.